So we've got a pretty big Dragon Ball Super Broly news blast video here coming at you. I got a lot of stuff to cover here tonight about Dragon Ball Super Broly. We have a brand new interview from the Dragon Ball News website, the official Japanese website for Dragon Ball News, especially, Broly news, but also there are some new character bios that have come out with some Japanese merchandise that a lot of folks don't even know even came out. Basically in Japan, they have these candies that come with these cards inside of them. I'm going to put it on your screen right now. And when you buy these candies with the cards inside, there's actual like tidbits of information from Dragon Ball Super Broly, backstory, and some information about what the characters are, going through, little bios and things like that. So I'm going to get into that. I'm getting into all that here in this video. First, though, I want to cover the interview from Dragon Ball News, the official site. It says it right there, official site from Japan. This is an interview with Mr. Naruhito Sumitomo, who is the composer for Dragon Ball Super Broly. Of course, you know him as the composer for Dragon Ball Super. He did the final chapters of Kai. He did Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. And he is going to be scoring Broly. And there's some really interesting tidbits in this interview that give us a little preview of the music of Dragon Ball Super Broly. Now, obviously, and it might not be obvious to some, because I'm sure there's people out there who still haven't accepted this, but there will be no Pearl Jam in this movie. The days of them using real rock bands to do anime movies, it's very rare. Resurrection F had the F song, and this movie will probably have a song, probably a custom-made song that goes with the movie, we assume, but the actual background music, the score, is going to be composed by Sumitomo. Now, my opinion, I think the Battle of Gods score that he put together was absolutely excellent, and I think the music he did for the Goku Black arc and for Tournament of Power was fantastic. I love the super music. I love what he was able to bring to the table. Resurrection F score I didn't think was that great, but here, as you can see from some of these images, Sumitomo's working with a full orchestra. So, I said this at Kamehacon. Some people were talking to me at Kamehacon about this, about Sumitomo. It would be incredible to go see this movie in the theater and hear the 16.1 surround sound of all the different instruments banging and playing during the climax of this movie. I think that experience in itself is going to be one that, us as fans will probably never forget. So, in the interview, and I want to thank Herms and Cypher for the translations here, Sumitomo discusses that, first of all, he says that as the film progresses, Broly changes. And I don't think he means just transformations. I think we're going to see Broly at different stages of his life. Obviously, we have Broly as a kid being born. We have Broly going to the planet Vampa with Paragus, at some point being exiled there. He's more of an infant during those scenes, and then of course the adult Broly. So Sumitomo's putting the music together to kind of have a thematic sort of sort of like a thematic crescendo where the older he gets, it slightly changes, but it's still going to be kind of his music. And he talks about how when Toriyama wrote the script for the movie, that he wanted to bring things back to basics, back to square one. But Sumitomo said, well, if we're going to go back to basics, he figures he's going to go ahead and try to produce something that's fresh. So the music's probably going to sound similar to Super, but not identical whatsoever. He goes on to say that the second half of the movie is pretty much one big battle, so he wants to make the music, all the battle themes have variety, but not too different. That way it sounds like one consistent score, which all makes sense. He talks about how the difference between covering, doing the music for movies versus TV shows is that when it came to the TV shows, the people working on the shows would go to Sumitomo and say, can you create music for, can you create sad music? And then as you watch Super, they have the same kind of sad music play over and over again. Can you create funny music? Can you create, angry music? And then Sumitomo would do it. But for this movie, it's different because now he's actually writing music for specific scenes, which is kind of what he did in Battle of Gods. And I like that because I love the score for Battle of Gods. So I'm excited to see that he's actually composing the movie, coming up with themes as he reads the script. That's pretty cool. He talks about how Sumitomo sometimes will base his scenes in the movie from previous scenes in the same movie, so it kind of has that same sound. All the great composers do this. It's really no surprise. And he talks about making sure the music reflects not just Goku and Vegeta's emotions, but also Broly's. And he talks about, there's more background information on Sumitomo in this interview as well. He talks about how he grew up a fan of Dragon Ball in high school and he was a huge fan of Kikuchi. There is tons and tons of praise for Kikuchi in this interview. He loves the original Dragon Ball music, and when he first got the job working on Dragon Ball, because Kikuchi had retired years ago, he was intimidated because of how legendary that Kikuchi score was, and I know a lot of people who grew up in the United States, they prefer the Bruce Faulconer score. That's what they grew up with. The Japanese grew up with Kikuchi. It's up for debate. Everybody has their own favorite. Some people like Kai's score. You have a right to like whatever you want. But understand that Kikuchi is a respected legend in Japan. So when you're coming in, getting this gig, right, after a legend covered Dragon Ball and Z, it's pretty intimidating. At least that's what he says here. And he talks about how it was hard for him to create his own kind of music when Kikuchi's score had been so, I guess, beloved, so pedestal by the Japanese fans. He didn't want to alienate the fans. And he talks about how, Kikuchi managed to kind of mix this kind of, brass kind of classical pop hybrid. The Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z sound like classic, kung fu movies. And that's the way it's supposed to sound. I've heard some fans say it sounds dated. It's supposed to sound like that. So, but Sumitomo tried to do some different things, when he came in for Kai. But he did talk about how when he makes the music, he's always thinking about the audience, and he's always thinking about, what emotion he wants to convey with them as they watch the movie, and he's very confident the film is going to make people happy, so that's good to know. And I, for one, think that his Tournament of Power stuff is great. I think it's fantastic, honestly, and I think if we get more stuff like that, and the Goku Black themes, stuff like that, that's his best work in my opinion. I'm excited to see where the movie goes. And here we have an actual shot of him scoring Broly. I tried to zoom in on this image, before I did this video. You can't really see anything, so it's not spoiling anything, but he has a full orchestra this time around, so I'm very excited to see what he does. In this movie. So that's good to know. That's pretty much all that we have here as far as the interview goes. Now, moving on, let's talk about the bios. Okay, so here is that card that came with the candy I was telling you all about. Special thanks to Cypher for getting his hands on these and covering them. There was a video actually that did an unboxing on it, and then he kind of saw it. So here's the new character bios. This is, of course, from Herms. These are exclusive to these candy card things, but they may pop up on one of the websites very soon. So some of this stuff we already knew. Some of the other stuff we didn't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what it says and then speculate. And of course, feel free to leave your comments as always about what you think. So here we go. Broly. Born with a high combat abilities, this Saiyan survivor reunites with Goku, to whom he is linked by fate, and escapes from his father Paragus' control to reveal his berserker instincts in a super awakening. So obviously the story is going to be similar to the old Broly movie where Paragus is suppressing Broly. We knew this. We've seen hints for it. This once again solidifies that. And it says here, will the internationally popular character Broly find a new fate in this latest film? Don't read too much into that. There's actually a couple different translations here that Cypher did go over in detail, but just to kind of give you the Cliff Notes version, it's not that they're necessarily hinting that Broly will become a good guy or survive the movie, even though it's possible he will. I did a video with Jaxblade covering how this could actually work. But is he going to go down the same way he did in Dragon Ball Z movie 8, 10, and 11, the old Broly movies? And the answer is no. I don't think that when and if he loses, I presume he will, he ain't going down the same way. Paragus, one of the few Saiyan survivors and the father of the astonishingly powerful Super Saiyan Broly. He controls Broly at will. Super rumor, although he controls Broly per Frieza's orders, he and his son still share a close bond. So I guess at some point Broly snaps on Frieza and then Paragus has to control him. That makes sense. We do know there is going to be an alliance early in the film between Broly and Frieza and Paragus, and at some point this alliance is going to break. So presumably, we don't really have details on the second half of the movie yet at all. We don't know anything really except for a couple of spoilers here and there, but nothing too major. So we don't know what's going to happen with Frieza, but we do know that Frieza finds them on planet Vampa. At least Frieza's forces do, and that's how Broly kind of gets put into the story. You know what I mean? Moving on here. Next little bio. Vegeta. He transforms into the blue-haired, blue-eyed Super Saiyan Blue. Well, Yeah, it's blue. Clad in a pale blue aura, with a calm and collective fighting style and a battle power superior to Super Saiyan God. At this point, I don't know anybody who still thinks that God is stronger than Blue, right? I know that was an argument, for 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago. One of the big breaks that I got when I was first starting YouTube was this very thing. Cause I did a debunk on this, and I was featured on Rhyme Styles channel, which gave me a whole bunch of new subscribers from that. This is a long time ago, when I first kind of came in, because there were people who were spreading misinformation about God being stronger. That's not the case at all. Now, it does say here, we're going to get into more detail about this here in a moment, but Super Saiyan God Vegeta, red hair Vegeta, has never been seen in the Dragon Ball Super anime, but he is in the manga, and we know that Vegeta definitely can do the transformation. And there's been a lot of arguments about how he was able to do it, but it's pretty much been established that Vegeta unlocked the God Key from training with Whis. That's how he got it. It wasn't that he got some magic, I don't know, germs from the ritual. That's not the case at all. He got it from, that was actually stated in the series that he got it from Whis. Go back and watch the Dragon Ball Super episodes. I think it was 13 through 18 for more coverage on that. So it says here, although this grants him battle power on par with Goku, the downside is that the heavy stamina drain during battle prevents him from fighting for long. So that's basically saying that Super Saiyan Blue is going to wear Vegeta out. So they could be doing something in the movie where he's going to use yellow and red to start with so that he doesn't get totally worn out, and then he'll go into blue when it's absolutely necessary. Nothing here about blue evolution from what we've seen. I do suspect we'll see it in the movie, probably closer to the end of the film, but essentially it's not saying that blue evolution kills his stamina. It's saying that just going into blue does, which is something the manga had actually established a bit more in the anime. But to make things clear, this movie is not following the manga continuity whatsoever. It's following whatever Toriyama's manuscript is that we may never see, the anime and the manga. So at the end of the day, it's sort of like these different forks. Plus, don't forget that there's going to be a Dragon Ball Super Broly manga version from Toyotaro coming out in January, I believe, or February. I'm not entirely sure. So we're going to get the anime movie, and we're going to get the manga adaptation from Toyotaro, and hell, we might even get the Super adaptation of the movie when Super comes back, which is going to irritate a lot of people. It's possible, we'll see when it comes back. I'm not saying it's going to, but it might. Now, here's some interesting new tidbits here. Actually, a little bit more on Vegeta before we go up here. With the divine key he gained training with the God of Destruction and Whis, right there, it's confirmed yet again, Vegeta achieves an upgraded transformation, an astonishing battle form clad in a red aura, which he reveals the level of God. So they're basically talking about, it's fancy writing for them saying, hey, Super Saiyan God Vegeta with the red hair is going to be fighting in this movie. It says here, he spent a long time training under Whis due to his frustration at losing to the God of Destruction Beerus. That essentially was already portrayed, like I said, in Dragon Ball Super 13 through 18. Vegeta wanted to train with Whis for two reasons. Number one, because he didn't want Goku to surpass him for too long in Super Saiyan God. This is way back at the beginning of Super, Battle of Gods era stuff. And the second reason is because he wanted to rematch with Beerus, because he lost to Beerus pretty embarrassingly, if you remember, both in the movie and the TV version. So, of course, he wants to learn that God Key. Bulma, the Capsule Corporation heiress, is a overconfident and proactive heroine. In the new movie DBS Broly, she puts on Arctic gear to visit a frozen continent. Super rumor, after changing into Arctic gear, she's not good with the cold. She plans to gather all the DBs on the frozen continent to become young again. So when they're saying super rumor, it's not an actual rumor. It's kind of like them trying to be cute and saying, oh, this is a rumor, even though it's actually part of the story. So that's interesting that Bulma wants to gather Dragon Balls in this film to become younger. She's trying to be like Piccolo or Lord Slug. And I'm thinking to myself, but Bulma, you look younger in Super than you did in the Buu Saga. So that's interesting to me that she wants to be younger. Maybe there's a different reason. Maybe after having Bra/Bulla, maybe she wants to have another kid, and maybe she's worried about getting too old to do that. Maybe she went through menopause. I have no idea. The movie will expound upon it, but I find it funny that Bulma's whole goal to get the Dragon Balls is to become younger. Okay, like Piccolo. Anyways, that is it for these bios. Nothing on Goku, interestingly enough, but I really suspect, and I'm not saying that I'm in no way saying that Goku won't be important to the movie, but it does seem like Vegeta and Broly have way more beef than Goku and Broly do. And if you missed the video I did with Tragic covering this, we went into explicit detail. I'll leave a link right now on your screen, plus on the other video I did about Broly being redeemed with Jax Blade. Check them out. I think you'll enjoy them if you haven't seen them yet. Thank you guys so very much. Hope you have a great rest of your night. And I might be streaming tomorrow. I'll let you know. Obviously, I will. You'll see a notification. Looking forward to talking to you all then. Thank you guys, and have a great one. See you then.